Okay, excellent. Once again, hello everyone. Thank you for taking out the time. This is what my plan is to cover today. As always, I would first like to tell you what I have been working on, not just to tell you what I've been doing, but in the context of what we are discussing. Right now, you're at a stage where the presentation and the brand that you're creating for yourself is very important. So, any takeaway, even if there are two, three small takeaways that you get from me today, I think my job is well done. So what I've done is we have been working on our generative AI deck. Obviously, we have been doing a lot of Gen AI work. Even though we discussed that in more detail in a couple of days, but I would still like to show you the one pager that I've created. Just have a look at it very quickly. So new resume 2024, new, and yeah, here we go. So what I've done is I've created this, right? Now, this for me is makes my life a lot easier because otherwise, in every context, in every meeting, I don't have the time. I mean, I have the time, the client doesn't have the time to give me the opportunity of walking them through the entire profile. So what I've done here is, as you can see, I've sort of tried to put everything in a single PDF. So the key numbers are there, the associations are there. It talks about a few big names, the projects that I worked on, the areas where we work, the key clients I have, my teaching assignments, and my details. And there's a QR code. So the idea is that if I'm doing a meeting, a 1 hour workshop, any engagement, I work with NASCOM very closely, for example, I'm making it easier for others to follow me, right? I mean, otherwise, many times people say, hey, we forgot to note down your YouTube. Why would I expect them to note it down and type my spelling correctly? The idea here is to make it easier for them. So when you go to the QR, what it essentially does is it redirects you to the same folder. So it's like a self-reference. This is one. The other thing I've done is, as I told you before, actually, I'm not sure if I told you before, but might have told Yash about this. A lot of work we are doing now is in generative AI. I mean, probably 50% of the work that we are doing. So now what we have done is we have sort of recreated our entire proposition to focus on the generative AI bit. Now, this one doesn't include Excel, Power BI, storytelling, all of that. I just want to show you to give you a sense of how we are creating our brand, right? So generative AI in action, insights to impact. Then there are numbers, total training, Gen AI training, projects, clients, all of that. So I made one slide that talks about the core functional areas. So marketing, finance, HR, IT, supply chain operation, and then different clients and one line on what we are doing with each of them. Then there is a generic outline because everything else is built on top of this, right? So this is the most basic outline that you can think of. Introduction to all the terminologies, all the terms, text generation, then you have image generation, analytics, and the ethical consideration. All the trainings that we've been doing revolve around these 5 areas. Then we talk about the tools that I cover. So I now have paid access to ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Copilot. We don't have Perplexity. We also have paid access to Gamma and Mermaid. Mermaid is a JavaScript programming language that allows you to create diagrams. Now, obviously, it is impossible for you to even imagine not learning Python, which remember I had told you guys back then. And I'll reinforce that point even more today. Then what we have done is we have made one slide for each functional area. So there's Gen AI for HR. Then we talk about the case studies covered. In the training or in the consultative training assignment, see, we don't do pure consulting on Gen AI, let's be honest, because that means we're also now getting into the engineering and the architecture side. That's not an area I am in or I intend to be in. But we do soft consulting where we are doing a training program, but it is beyond a plain vanilla training. So we're not just taking people through the off-the-shelf content, we are actually customizing it for them. So here, if you notice, we have written 5 case studies that we cover, and each of them are from different areas in HR. So there's recruitment, talent management, performance, L&D, etc. Like this, I've done it for HR, finance, marketing, supply chain, and IT. Then we are also doing a lot of rebranding of the YouTube content that I have. Now, I have some great content. Of course, the focus is to make it even better, but also make it more approachable for people. So what we have done here, if you notice, is that now even the cover images, right? They have a story to tell. So even before you actually go and read the description or go and fast forward and have a look, you can see that the image also tells you what you can expect to be covered in the session. Then every video now has a 2-3 line summary and 3 key takeaways, and there's a link that you can jump to. Then, of course, we have created different bundles. So there's one awareness that is FOC. There's an awareness that is for 2 hours. Then there's one for leader. That's obviously priced a little higher. Cross-functional is mixed team, and functional is for a specific team. Yep, so that's one. And the other thing I wanted to show you was also our revised customer story. Now, if all of you recall, I had shown you the customer story even when I was with you guys. And I remember one of you had commented saying, Havish spent an entire day on the customer story. But I would like to believe that it added value. It gave you better context. So what we've done here, again, if you notice, is that we have added a lot more to it. I don't think this is the right one. One moment. Okay, look at this. See, I have done about 150 projects. So there's a lot more I can add to it. But just have a look at what we have currently. So we first talk about the capability and the tech stack that we work on, from foundation to quick wins to strategic insight to transformation across all the tools. Then we talk about some key stories in HR, marketing, finance. Those are the 3 core areas where we work. Then we have a finance capability deck. Then I have given the names of a few important POCs and some areas where we predominantly work. Then there's a list of all the projects, and then these are different projects. I'm just going to quickly walk you through it. So there's Sterlite, automation, custom tab creation, modulisis, COGS management, Ministry of Power, consolidation of file, DShaw, financial operation. This isn't for a specific client, but we will do it eventually. This is for Radio Power. This is a SAP data management with Power Query. This is a DShaw project where we had to create an automation using Python to extract files from emails and to reply to it automatically. These were multiple projects that I did with Shell, right? Remember, I had even told you about it. So Suraj now is a director at Deloitte. He has come to Gurgaon. But at that time, he was my contact at Shell. And there are multiple projects that we did. But we have actually listed down each one with 3 problems and 3 solutions. So there's one on formula, there's one on automation, one on Power Query, one on Python automation, one on web extraction, one on purely macros, one on lambdas. You get the point, right? One on user forms. Similarly, for HR, we have talent tracker. Some of these you've already seen before, but we've also added new ones like the one we did for Landmark. This is a project that we did for Landmark Middle East, where the context was that, let me read it for you. Every time a candidate comes for an interview, it takes a lot of time because you have to schedule it, you have to reschedule it. There's a time constraint. It's not scalable because every time you need a person to supervise when the Excel examination has been given, which means it's very resource intensive and it is not process but person driven. Then we also have an element of bias and subjectivity because there is a person who's evaluating the candidate. What we did was we automated the entire text scoring. So now, rather than the user having to go and check for the responses, everything is checked automatically and you get a summary like the one that you see on the screen right now. This is built on top of their existing Excel file. And this is literally, we've solved them like a 3-year-old problem, which was such a big deal for them. It did it like in 15 days. So it creates standardization, consistency, and it also ensures that it's flexible. So tomorrow, if they want to add more question or modify something, they're able to do that, right? Then we've done one for Sterling. So anyway, I just wanted to show this to you, telling you, like this is a project we are going to eventually do. We haven't done it yet. Rajiv is the marketing head of DS Group. We are doing a 4-hour generative AI training for their team. He will also attend. Now, see, they already have their brands, agencies handling brands like Rajnigandha, PassPass, all of that. But he still wants to empower his team to be able to write an ad copy, a brief, create the creatives, right? Analyze research, do surveys, etc. So this is a project that we are exploring where we have an ad and we are using Python to detect emotion. So right now, if you notice, we have a munch ad and it tells me what percentage of the ad denotes a specific type of emotion, which would be sadness, happiness, neutral, etc. Right? So our idea is to keep on adding more and more to it. because, as we're going to hire one more person. He will join us in January. So now it will be three of us. But what I've realized, and this is what I tell all of you, please market yourself really well. Um, I mean, if you're already doing it, please do more of it. Like this is a one pager that we are trying to create, similar to what a Gartner or an IBM is doing. Just replicate what others are doing. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Just copy what others are doing. That is the smartest thing you can do. What I personally do to market me is that I keep on compiling ideas from different companies that I find on LinkedIn, whatever it is. It could be an image, it could be an ad, it could just be like a post. But if you see, all of these are nice design, like Anderson Horowitz. This is so nice. So A16Z had this style of, a lot of text with certain highlighted keywords, and I love it. I might not do it right now, but I've at least saved it for reference for future so that the day I feel it is important to me, I'll be able to do it. This again is something I really liked. Here, if you notice, this is from an academic generative AI website, but I love the way they have deconstructed the entire screenshot into different points. So they have annotated different parts. Again, I don't need it now, but I've at least saved it so that I might need it in the future. So this, of course, is not a day's work. This is something I've been doing for a lot of time. But I really like the idea that when I do need to do something important, that time I don't have to go running around here and there searching for random ideas on the internet. It is already there with me, what you can see right now. Perfect. And yeah. And the final thing is, before coming to the Excel part, is we have also been reworking on our YouTube compilation. So this is what I've been working on. It's still not complete. But the idea is that we want to create pamphlets, like a hard copy. So imagine when I came to the institute, it would have been so nice if I had like a flyer with me with a QR code. And I don't know if I would have been allowed to do it, but let's say we would have pasted it on the wall or at least given you a copy. Because see, at the end of the day, if I don't market myself, then there's no point of creating good content. So what I've done here is, as you can see, for generative AI, there are different videos. This also helps me because now I'm cataloging everything. So otherwise, I also sometimes forget the video that I had recorded many years back. For example, I had genuinely forgotten that I have done sessions for Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta. Sure, vaguely I remembered, but because this was way back in 2020, 2021, I had never bothered to actually put it in one slide. Now, for me today, if I want to reach out to an ISB or to an NUS or whoever it is, right? If I want to go to an INSEAD, then what is going to enable me to make an impression? This is important, right? Because these are brands that they can associate with. And the most stupid thing is that I already had these videos with me, but I was never doing anything with it. So now I have an Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta. I have an SPGIMR, an IFT, an FMS, an LSR, and SRCC. I have a bunch of others, but we're still working on it. Similarly, for the playlists that I have, this is what I'm creating. So there's a screenshot. There's a write-up on what the playlist contains, what are the important takeaway, and there's a link that directs you to the playlist. So we intend to be much more aggressive in terms of not just doing good work, but also shouting about it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it boils down to that. So the only reason I wanted to show all this to you is to tell you how I market me. Maybe there are some takeaways for you as well. So please use that, effectively. Okay. And the final thing is Python. Now, this article came earlier today, 10 hours back, or maybe 12 hours back now. And, I know I'm driving the point home again and again, but Python has dethroned JavaScript as the most used language on GitHub. Once again, please understand, Python at one point was 4 in 2014. It is number 1. I can't overemphasize the importance, everyone, of how generative AI has completely, shook everything. If you remember, I had already told you that Excel now has Python in it, right? And they keep on introducing more and more features and more libraries, right? So right now, if you notice, and this is general availability, now you don't even need to have like a business account. If you have Microsoft 365, you should have Python with you. Now there's Python. If you notice, I even have an Anaconda toolbox with me. Anaconda has officially created a toolbox for Excel. Please take my words very, very seriously. You must learn Python if you don't know it already. I remember I had covered like one session on it. How you learn it, I don't know. How you're going to take out the time, you'll figure out. Abhi ke liye nahi. Obviously, right now you're focused more on the immediate impact, which is your placement. But I'm also preparing you for the next couple of years. Please learn it. It is going to have a huge benefit in your career and the track that you pick up in the future if you learn it now, because eventually you will have to learn it. There's no other choice. Now I'm teaching undergrad kids how to learn Python and how to use it on Excel. You are MBAs and you want to accelerate your growth in the next couple of years. It's a must-have skill that all of you need to pick up, right? In addition to Excel and Power BI, obviously. Generative AI I'll not talk about because we're in any case going to cover it separately. But yeah, I mean, that we'll keep for the other session. Also, what I'll be sharing with you today is, just a moment. Okay, so what I've done is, this had also been lingering for me for a while. But then because I knew I had this session with you today, I thought I'll take the opportunity of also catching up on my old work, which had been pending. It's still not complete, but what I've done here is I have added links to websites, YouTube channels, and people to follow. Let me show you. See, so I've given you the right website. Corporate Finance Institute, Spill Graphics for charts, JKP ads for development work on Excel, Excel Jet for everything related to Excel. You want to learn a function, just go and type the function name. You will find examples on it. And then AbleBits. This again is a very old, very nice website, Excel Campus and Excel AutoGrid. For YouTube, I've given you Mr. Excel and Other Level. Other Level is specifically for Excel dashboards. People to follow on LinkedIn, JKP, Owen Price, John, Craig, Mark, etc. So if I just show you how Owen promotes himself, Owen, by the way, now has joined the Anaconda team, which is helping create Python for Microsoft. So he's just joined them, I think, a couple of months back. So now he's a senior product manager for PyExcel at Anaconda. And he's been an executive officer earlier. So Owen Price is amazing when it comes to the way he markets himself. And I would like to show it to you. Just look at the way he creates his post. It's very simple, to the point. And it's fantastic. I mean, there's something that you learn. And he gets, and even the write-up that he has, he will have like a complete write-up on what he's doing. Even things that don't work out, as that fails, he will still have a write-up on that. I mean, I'll not sort of spoil it for you, but you should absolutely follow him. I think there's so much you can learn in so many different ways just by seeing how he creates content and communicates and presents himself, right? I love to follow him. I recommend him to everyone. I think you should do it as well, right? So we have already discussed this when we met, but just a quick recap. In Excel, you have obviously a different version. 2024 has just come out, which is the perpetual license, but that will not get updated. I mean, the slide says it will be available. Now it has become available. And you pretty much have dynamic arrays in regular expression. This will work only on Microsoft 365 or on the online version of Excel. Then you have data analysis toolpack, that is for statistical analysis, descriptive, regression, correlation. Then you have Power Query that works on both Power BI and Excel. This is for ETL. The language is M language, getting more and more popular day by day. It's a must-have skill because if you wanted to merge, append, all the ETL operation that you do with NumPy and Pandas, you can do it on Power Query. And let me tell you, this is very, very important. Even if the company explicitly doesn't ask for it, there is an appreciation. I can assure you that anyone who you go to and you tell them that in addition to basic Excel, I know Power Query fundamentals, that will go a very, very long way. Then we have Power Pivot. Power Pivot is also available on Power BI. This is DAX, which allows you to create models and write calculations in pivot table. The language they use is DAX. VBA, of course, we had covered. VBA is Visual Basic, which also is used for automation and creating user forms like the one that you see. TypeScript might not be available for you. I think it's only there for business user. TypeScript is basically a type of JavaScript, which is the replacement for VBA, but it's not a true replacement. I don't think this is very important for you. VBA, Power Query are very important. Python, of course, we have discussed. If you have Microsoft 365, you should be able to try this out. Then you have add-ins available. Then you also have Copilot. Copilot, of course, is paid, so you won't be able to use it. But we also have an OpenAI API. So if you notice, I don't think I had this when I met you. No, I did not. Now what you can do is there is an experimental feature on Excel, OpenAI API. So what you do here is you first install something called Excel Lab. It's a free add-in. So you just go to add-in and you install Excel Labs. Within Excel Labs, we have, if you look at the second one, we have an experimental feature called labs.generative AI. Essentially, what it does is, on my Excel, if I type equal to labs.generative AI, I can write a prompt, and the variable could be one of the cell. Like here I've written, create 5 important finance KPIs with definition. So pretty much what you would have done on ChatGPT or Claude, I can now do it directly within Excel. This does require you to have a developer account of Excel, but I mean, I don't know if you can get it or not, but that's a prepaid subscription. So you pay as you go. For example, you pay $5, you use it. When it is exhausted, then you can buy more. But it's very, very cheap because we're not actually uploading large documents in it. Why am I telling you? Because you should know that this exists, right? I mean, as an MBA student, it shows you in very good light when you are able to tell others that, hey, I know something that you might not be aware of. Then, of course, we can connect to Power BI on Excel. Generative AI, I'll cover when we do Gen AI, but using generative AI, we can do pretty much everything. We can get the step, debug a formula, write a formula, modify a formula, convert one language into another language. All of that would be possible, right? Any questions so far, anyone? Otherwise, I want to show you the templates that you have available in CFI, because I think that's the best way for you to show, even if you haven't actually done a project, you can always embellish and exaggerate a little bit and then show that you have done these projects, right? From the templates that you find on CFI. But any questions before that?
So these templates on CFI would help us for Excel, or I mean,
Excel. These are Excel template. Why don't I give you an example? So if I go to resources and I show you, just a moment, FP&A, okay, these are the courses. Just give me a moment. Let me search it in a different way. If I say CFI and I search for Excel Solver, for example, right? So if you notice, there are, anyway, you can go to resources. In fact, let me open this again. One moment. All right. So if you notice, they explain what is Excel Solver, something that I've been teaching over the last few months. I'm teaching this at MDI Murshidabad. So if you notice, they have the file available, which is very cool, right? Because what they've done is, let me show it to you. See, they have explained, given the instructions step by step, how to work on it. Plus the example is there. So I'll just tell you what they have covered in this. What they're saying is that there are 58 salespeople. Each salesman is getting a salary of 75,000. There is a diminishing return because the market is a zero-sum game. If I keep on adding more and more salespeople to the same market, beyond a certain point, there'll be a diminishing return because there'll be cannibalization. It's like Maruti Suzuki opening 100 dealers in Delhi. It's not that it will infinitely keep on growing sales, correct? Now, this is the cost per salesperson. Now, what happens is that if I have one person, then 75,000. And if you notice, salary is 45, my profit is 30,000. Very simple. But the moment I say there are two salespeople, my revenue isn't double. It is actually not 1,50,000 because there's a diminishing return. Now, till it reaches about this mark, about 58, you notice that till I reach 58, my revenue keeps on increasing. My profit is 288. But the moment it crosses that 59, you notice my profit actually starts to decrease. Why? Because there's a law of diminishing return. The curve is not a linear curve. This is a non-linear curve. How to do it is beyond the scope of today's session, but I have a video on YouTube. But if you notice on data, when I go to solver, I can actually, do my objective. So I can say, now that I've started, I might as well show it to you. So for example, I can say, I don't know how many salespeople is the perfect number. So I can go to data analysis. I'm sorry. I can go to solver. I can say I want to maximize what? I want to maximize my profit, which is C10, by changing the variable cell number of salespeople. But if I make this a simplex, which is a linear regression, it won't work because it's not a straight line. So it tells you it is not possible to get a linear line. But if I again go back and I change it to a non-linear curve, now you notice it tells you that there are exactly 58 people till which point the line keeps on growing, even though it's growing at a decreasing rate, and then it starts to fall. Now let me tell you how you're going to use it. This has been created by CFI. You very smartly have to take this. Please have a look. I'm taking a screenshot. And you can do this for any example, right? Let's go to Gemini. I will paste my image. This works even in the free version, pasting images. And I will say, this is an assignment that I did in my MBA class. Can you understand it? The first thing I would like to do is to validate whether Gemini is even able to figure out or does it need additional input from my side. Now, hopefully, I haven't tried it, but hopefully it will understand what it is. So if you notice relationship between number of salespeople and profit, there's a diminishing return and a cost, right? Now I'm going to tell it that, great, I am creating a portfolio for my resume for my placement season. Can you summarize this in 3 lines, but take an example of a bank? So what it does is I'm taking the essential points, the keywords, but I'm now getting a story that you can put on your resume, something like, I created a financial model analyzing the impact of the number of bank tellers on profit, revealing that overhiring leads to diminishing return. You see my point, right? Now, see, every lie has to be built on a foundation of truth. I'm not saying you create anything out of thin air, because how will you defend it? But the point is that if you've already done something in like a class assignment, a capstone project, maybe a live project, use that as a foundation and embellish it. Just add a few exciting points to it, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to see something that is crisp, but that 1 or 2 lines should have a lot of detail in it. And I think this does have a lot of depth in it. For example, if I say that I want in 3 bullets, it will make like this. Like the customer story that I created, 3 problems, 3 solutions. So yeah, I mean, that's how I would have, if I was a student, again, this is how I would have gone about it, and have the file with you. You don't know when you will get the opportunity to show the file to someone. See, my recommendation always is, I know you guys have experience, you're not freshers, be that as it may, right? As a faculty, the only thing I'll tell you is, please carry a spiral with you. Take out hard copies of all these files. See, having a soft copy is not going to help you, because who's going to look at it? Are you going to open your laptop? Will they even allow you to do it? No, right? But in addition to your CV, I don't think there's any harm in carrying a spiral and just put the ball in their court. Say that, I have 5 additional projects that I've done. These are all 1-pagers. If you allow me, I would like to show it to you. And I would like to believe more people than not would allow you to do it. Because when you show it to someone, not just the example with the formula, but adding 3 problems and solution, I think that goes a very long way, because it's very easily digestible. People can consume it very quickly. And I think it shows you in very good light that you're not afraid to talk about your projects and your accomplishments as well. And like this, there are hundreds of templates available on CFI and also on AbleBits. I'll share both the websites with you. So CFI I've already seen, and the other one is AbleBits, everyone. Just talk to me, tell me if that makes sense, if you think that helps.
Yes, sir.
This
Yes,
is
sir.
really helpful.
Yes. Right? Great. Now the ball is in your court. You can ask me what you want to ask. I just wanted to focus more on the presentation part, because I think more than the learning is the presentation that matters. But if there's any specific, okay, one more thing. Please feel free to interrupt me, but like this. So I will first give it the context. So on ChatGPT, I will give it a custom instruction saying, I am an MBA student preparing for placements. Be critical and give me guidance on how to improve, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it, let's take a topic like VLOOKUP. So I was saying, how do I, no, ask me a question, be the recruiter, ask me questions on my Excel knowledge and give me the correct answers. So basically, you don't even have to do that, to and fro. You literally ask it, help me prepare. So it will ask you, how do you handle duplicate data in a large Excel sheet? The expected answer would be something like this. Now you can also tell it that make sure that the answer always uses a real company name and different functions. Again, if you see, now it is giving you exactly the words that you should be using. So the question is, let's say you're working with Amazon, analyze a list of order, you want to show the total sales for category. So now it helps you prepare. Now, if you say, but Havish, how do you know that this is the question that is going to be asked? That's my point. You, everyone, have to direct the conversation. Don't let them ask you a question. You can always say that I would like to share with you 3 problems that I worked on during our bridge course when we covered Excel, something like that. And then you can always say that, we were working on a customer pattern problem. Like if you, for example, say, make 5 examples on CAC, CLV, PE ratio. Let me take compa ratio, that would be HR, and then vendor ROI. So what I've done here is I've taken specific keywords that is around which you want to revolve your story. So maybe you have done a project already, maybe a college assignment, where you have worked on customer acquisition cost. What you want to do is you want to get that very articulate, flashy, exciting, professional pitch, like that elevator pitch. So what it does now is it actually, okay, let me change that a little bit. I'll say, make 5 examples. I am a student showcasing my projects in these areas, something like that. And there we go. So what it does is very neatly, it picks up the terms that you have said, and it literally builds like a hypothetical project for you. Like this, right? So it tells you that you analyze the CAC for a startup's digital marketing channel, which included so-and-so. You identified high-cost, low-performing channel, proposed to revise budget allocation. You see how nice this line is? Like this one line really helps you get across the really in-depth understanding you have. For example, if I tell you that I worked on a project and I proposed to revise budget allocation to prioritize cost-effective channels, reducing overall CAC by 20%. That is it. This has an entire story in it. Even if you feel that, but Havish, I can do it, why would you spend time creating these narratives when ChatGPT can do it for you? And the entire point is you're not building something which is a false. It's not a lie, right? It's not built on a foundation of lies. You take something that you've already done and you ask it to convert it into a better narrative, which you will just be able to rehearse and sort of spill back into an interview. That's what I do. Let me be honest. That's what I do with all my client communication. Let me tell you, my clients today are happier than they ever were. For the smallest of things, I will go here and I'll ask you to do it. There's no point of doing all these things yourself now. Okay, while you're thinking of questions to ask, if I say, create learning path for VLOOKUP from very basic to very advanced. Just have a look at what I'm doing. I will go to Mermaid. Now, Mermaid is free, but to access it, you will need to have a ChatGPT paid account, which I think all of you should buy at least for the next couple of months. What I can do here is on Mermaid, which you can download from Explore GPT, I obviously created a learning path for VLOOKUP from very basic to very advanced. Have a look. What it does is it does not just create the content for you, but it also helps you A, learn, and B, be able to present it in a, in an interview. So and I think this looks, at least to me, I think this looks very nice if we're able to tell someone that, let's say I'm the candidate, I will tell you, like I'm talking about my analytics prowess. So I will say, um, let me give you an example of how I learn a topic or acquire knowledge. For example, when I learned VLOOKUP, what I did was to first break it into 4 levels, from basic, intermediate, advanced to super advanced. In advanced, I first did the basic understanding of the syntax, understanding the structure of the formula, how the basic match works, and how to handle error. At an intermediate level, I did approximate match and how to work with ranges. Then I did advanced. You get my point, right? Something like this is so nice because if you're, of course, I'm going to talk primarily about analytics rules, but I guess you can use these learnings in other areas as well. The point is use generative AI to the fullest, because otherwise you're going to spend so much time building these different narratives for different interview. And if you already have a JD, the best thing is you take the JD, you take your resume, upload both of them, and then you simply ask it that, hey, you know my JD, you know the JD, you know my resume. Please help me tailor my communication so as to ensure that all the points in the JD have been already given. And trust me, this is what we're doing with talent acquisition. We're uploading 50 resumes along with the JD, and we're asking ChatGPT to help us select the best candidate. I'm doing this with a bunch of different companies now.
So, but if we tailor our resumes as per GPT, I mean, communication wise, and if the recruiter is also using ChatGPT, so I mean, and if all of them start doing that, so I mean, where is an advantage and how does it work?
I mean, of course, there are no barriers. They can, but they won't because they're lazy and they are stupid and they don't have the time. I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, nobody has the time and effort. Do you think people have the time and effort to spend 3 hours refining one prompt? I do. And I do it even now because I have to. That's the nature of my work, right? So my point is that yes, they can do it, but they are very ill prepared. And even if they're doing it, you just tell yourself, I'll be better and faster than them. That's how I'll put it.
Right.
See,
Okay.
that way, me as Havisham Consulting, I should just go under a rock and, get into an infant position and die. I mean, how will I run my business if that is the threat that I have, that anyone can do it and BCG and McKinsey have a head start and they're bigger and faster and more nimble? It's okay. I mean, sometimes the big ones do what they do. There's enough space for everyone. Similarly, yes, I would not deny the fact that they are becoming smarter. For example, now they're using something called People GPT. So People GPT, I'm helping deploy this for a few of my clients. People GPT allows you to recruit with context. So it is not just a filter-based search like Naukri, where I say experience, location, skills, but the context of what does the role actually require. Even the screening that we are doing of resume, we are doing all of that on GPT now. So yes, recruiters are also changing their game. But I believe as a candidate, you'll always be faster and better than them. And let me be honest, you don't even have to tell them I'm not using it. On the contrary, I believe most recruiters would be more than happy for you to tell them with confidence that I've used a lot of AI, but I can also tell you that the way we have used AI is much, much higher than the average baseline for AI. That is what I tell my clients, that everyone is using AI, but I can write prompts better than you can. But that confidence will only come the more you use it. Simply doing something as simple might not be enough. But the more you try, if you spend 2 hours on it, trust me, you will get a better output and you will have the confidence to go back to the recruiter and tell them, I'm not ashamed to say I've used AI. On the contrary, I'm very proud to say that I've used AI, but I've used it very, very effectively. And I'm very happy with the output that I have. When you are confident in what you have done, I think you're able to showcase that to the recruiter as well. If you yourself are defensive and feeling that, hey, I think I've, sort of taken a shortcut or, not taken the proper route, then of course that the recruiter also is going to echo the same sentiment. No? But I think you just have to be confident because McKinsey, for example, is writing 5 lakh prompts every month. What more validation do you need from my side? Look at this. McKinsey is writing, and I'm not making this up, 5 lakh prompts every single month they're writing. 72% of firm members are using Lily, which is their internal GPT. This is the proof that this is the future. The future is going to be about generative AI. It already is, and it's going to change even more going forward. So don't shy away from it. Have the confidence, even if they are aware or unaware, it hardly matters. You tell them that I'm doing it because I realize it is important. That is why we have used generative AI to the fullest. Anyway, that's the Gen AI part. But even if you don't mention Gen AI, what I'm saying is that the way you structure your projects that you have done, generative AI can help you immensely. And I showed you that if you have an Excel model, literally take a screenshot or just give it like 4 or 5 pointers in bullets and then ask it to fill in the gaps and build a story for you. See, the problem is all of you have done a Excel, Power BI, whatever model, an assignment. Forget Excel. Let's say you worked on an assignment, a 5-pager. You got A+ on it. Fantastic. But how do you summarize it into that one paragraph that has that elevator pitch in it? That is where AI will be able to help you a lot.
So
Right?
suppose,
Tell them.
suppose I've created a financial model for a company doing some kind of valuation or so on Excel. Now, how do I leverage AI and Excel to suppose market my project better?
Should we take an example? Hold on. So I'll take a financial model. One moment. I'm just taking a screenshot, right? So I'll take the screenshot, come back to Gemini. Okay. So this is my prompt. I'm going to tell it. I want to present the key outcomes and key learnings. No, first, I'll give it some context that I am an MBA student preparing for placements. This model is my portfolio. I want to present the key outcome and key learnings from this model. Make a table showing the topic, the keywords, the learnings, and maybe the KPI, something like that. You can mess around with it later, but just see what we are able to do. So if you have an image, and you can obviously give it additional point, you see what it does, like it very neatly. And this is something you can even put in your addendum, not in your actual CV, obviously, but in the supplementary document, where you say that, okay, this model is beyond the number. It's not that it looks nice and it's formatted properly. Why did you create it? What is the purpose of creating the income statement? What are the actionable? What are the decision making that can happen due to it? So we are what we call narratives, right? We are going beyond the numbers into the narrative side. So it tells you that the revenue growth focuses on these keywords. These are the KPIs that are calculated. This is the key learning that comes from it. Does it help?
Yes, it does.
And I knew it would work because, trust me, in all the clientele that I work with, this is one of the best examples that they love. The fact that we are able to make a nice table where we are able to get the keyword, the term. We can even ask it how are different topics correlated with each other. You know, like if I ask it, also tell me the actionable. So if I say, what are actionable? And I will also say who are the stakeholders involved in it, right? This is so cool. I love the part about the actionable and the stakeholders, something I do personally all the time. Have a look. So now it tells you that in financial modeling, the actionable insight is you find the key driver, you look at the assumption of financial performance and the stakeholder, investors, management, and leaders, like that. Right? So the only important thing you have to do is just tell it, I want these columns in a table, and you mention what columns you want.
Right. And sir, on CFI website, you told something about the financial planning and analysis part. What was that? Then you went on to some other link.
So on CFI, essentially,
Excel.
templates is what I wanted to show you. Like the one that you have here, you'll find a lot of other templates available as well.
Okay. So it's there on the CFI website and we have to go to resources or where?
Just go to resources, you'll
Okay,
find
okay.
a lot of it available.
Okay.
And for terms, you can go to Investopedia. if you
Right.
haven't seen it already. Investopedia, again, is I think the best way to rapidly learn a lot. If you just go here and come to, just a moment. I'm sorry, I need to know what landing page it is. Terms, Investopedia, terms. I love the amount of content they have. Not too much, not too less, like this. It's a very quick way of learning a lot in a very short span of time. Obviously, this would be more tailored to finance, but there are applications, across different areas as well. So I love the way it's just the right amount of content that they have given.
Right.
Baki Excel may, I don't know. I mean, of course, it depends on what type of roles you're applying into. But I guess for any role that you apply into, showing them your capability to work with a lot of data is always going to go a long way. You know that, right? I'm not saying it's the most important thing, but that at least showcases something very positive on your end. Your data preparation, like emphasize how important it is to manage data and to clean bad data. You have to say these words, right? You tell them that I appreciate that before the visual and the insight, data preparation is very important. Combining file, managing inconsistent, non-uniform data, things like that, right? And just build a story. Like if I was in your place, I would have built a story like this. I would have said, as a student, help me build a pitch for the interviewer where I am able to showcase that I understand the importance of data cleaning, especially working with inconsistent files and data types and date formatting issues. Okay, look at this. This is pretty much what you have to do in an interview, right? Like this. And just look at the words that pop up. In my projects, I've learned that data cleaning is often one of the most time-consuming yet critical parts. When working with inconsistent file, I focus on establishing a standardized approach. Whether it's aligning column headers, missing value, ensuring consistent data type, otherwise it could be misleading, is tricky because when the file comes from multiple sources, you get my point, right? And you can always add more to it going forward, like maybe give it something that you've already worked on, like a company name, a sector, a function, right? And it will build a story around that.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Otherwise, see, in Excel, you already have the notes with you. I don't know how else I'll be able to help you. Like if you really want to learn Excel very quickly, this would be my suggestion. I know you don't have the time, right, to go back and watch courses and videos and all of that. But trust me, what you should do at least is just go back. Any topic that you pick up, let's say conditional statements, don't even open the file. Just look at the screenshots that are there, right? So if you notice, in fact, I'll give you the updated screenshot on the same link that I had given you earlier. Like even by looking at this, I know you might not be able to remember everything. For example, let's look at a more advanced one, something like this one, right? Where what we are doing is we are working with a problem where the tenure has to be minimum 5 years. The customer should be a prime customer and the achievement should be greater than the target. So there's an and, there's an or, there is an if. Now you might say, but Havish, if you don't practice it, then how are we going to remember it? How do we justify it? Fair enough. You don't have the time to practice, but at least go through the slides, because at least by going through all the slide, it will be in your short-term memory, especially before an interview. If you quickly scan through it in 10, 15 minutes, I think that goes.
Sir, your voice is not clear now. I think there's some network issue.
चैट पे टाइप कर
Not sure what happened. It just restarted. Yeah, let me just share the link with you.
Yeah, so can you reshare the link? Yeah, thank you.
I will. I was also asking you, can you tell me a little bit about what type of roles are you applying into and what type of companies so that maybe I can help you a little better?
Till now, consulting companies have come up, and mainly tech consulting type roles have come up.
So tech roles means there'll be a lot of data expectations, no? So Excel, basic
Yeah.
SQL, Power BI.
Excel and I think R, Python, Power BI, these 3, 4 things are generally expected, if not, if they are not compulsory, but recommended, I guess.
Yeah, it goes a long way. See, if you want to do a crash course, everyone, you can go to Programming with Mosh. This is the channel. So he has these quick short videos, right? Like learn JavaScript in 1 hour, SQL in 3 hours. Basically, it's 3 hours, but you can actually do it in like 2x the speed, right? I think this goes a long way because, of course, you don't have the time to do everything. But even if you're in an interview where they're talking about SQL and R, and somewhere, if you're able to throw at them that, hey, I'm also at least familiar with HTML. Remember that 0 to 1 goes a very long way. While you might think, but Havish, if I just know like a little bit, how will it help? A little bit is still much more than not knowing anything at all, right? That would be my suggestion. Do these 1 hour courses. And trust me, when you do like 4, 5 of them, you will just have a sense of confidence that, hey, I know a lot more than what most of the others in my batch know. You know what I mean, right? Like, not everybody knows everything. Everybody knows HTML is important. How many of them have actually gone and done that 1 hour course? You won't learn a lot, but I think you will have a lot more familiarity with what HTML is by doing that 1 hour course. So one is this one, Programming with Mosh. I'll just share the link with you. And the other one I would share is, I think most of you would already know this, but Free Code Camp, right? Free Code Camp again has these very long videos, but ignore those. Look at the smaller ones, right? I mean, you'll have to sort of search for what you want, but let's say we're searching for Python, right? And if you quickly want to learn what Python is, just pick up one of these videos, just do it on fast forward. And I think that will help a lot. Otherwise, you can just go to ChatGPT and you can just tell it, I know nothing of Python, but I'm applying to a consulting role that also requires some data. Give me a crash course. That's pretty much it. So you tell it, give me a crash course. Of course, it will help. It's better than nothing. I'm not saying this is the only thing you should do, but I think this goes quite a long way. At least the familiar, I know unless you practice, you won't know, but at least there's a familiarity, no? Okay, there's an Anaconda, a Jupyter, a Google Colab. Even if in an interview, you say, I'm aware that Anaconda and Google Colab is used. And they ask you, have you done Google Colab? Even if you say, I haven't used it, the fact that you're aware of it, the fact that you know of it, I think also shows a lot of confidence. See, you see what I mean, no? All the common tasks that someone has to do on Python, वो तो आपको यहाँ पे मिल रहा है. It is telling you all those things, no?
Yes, yes.
So you can try that too. But I think videos are good because, in the video, I know you won't be able to remember and retain everything the person said, but I think somewhere subconsciously, and during the placement season especially, I call it short-term memory. For the purpose of this 1, 2, 3 month period, just keep on watching videos after videos after videos, because subconsciously you will retain a lot of stuff without actually realizing. And in an interview, when those topics come up, you will be able to show a lot more confidence. So just learn like a varied number of different things rather than doing one thing in a lot of detail. It makes more sense to do a number of different videos from different places.
Got it, sir.
And I'm just a phone call away, everyone. If there's an interview and you would like to sit with me the night before for 30 minutes, I'm not sure how much I'll be able to help you, but whatever it is, maybe there's some help I can give. Maybe you just need someone to listen to what you're saying and, get some feedback on it. if I can be of help, I'm always available, so feel free to let me know. I mean, nights are usually quite good for me. So, that should not be a problem.
Thanks a lot, sir. Means a lot.
Great. Anything else, anyone?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.